cool. Okay, welcome. Thank you all for being here. I'm super excited for tonight. I want to start us off with a little grounding meditation, how I like to start everything off. And yeah, you're just welcome to close your eyes or rest your eyes or lean your body back, whatever feels good. Finding your body in this space and just connecting to yourself through your breath, inviting your spirit back into your body through your breath, back into relationship with your body. Expanding your belly and your chest as you breathe. Releasing anything from the day that you want to release. Letting it float into the atmosphere and recycle into the cosmos. And then breathing in anything you want to breathe in. Bringing it close to your heart, close to your body through the breath. Knowing that Aries season is a new zodiacal year for all of us, a new astrological year, and we're about to enter the Aries new moon, which is some powerful renewal medicine. So anything you want to breathe in and bring close to you as we renew, inviting you to do so. And anything you want to release, just letting it go on the exhale. Maybe it's just an invitation, letting yourself say to yourself, like, I release anything I don't need, and then trusting the universe to handle the rest. Sometimes that feels good. And then once you've released anything you want to release and you've brought anything near you want to bring near, beginning to picture yourself in this incredible golden egg, this beautiful golden orb, seeing yourself so perfectly in the center. This beautiful iridescent gold mesh that is a place of protection, of natural filtration, bringing in anything that's for you and keeping out anything that's not for you in this exact moment. Also noticing the size and shape of your golden egg, noticing if it's really big and really expansive and spacious, noticing if it's really snug and cozy, close to your body, keeping you so warm and so secure. Noticing if it's a medium-sized egg and you have the perfect amount of room to move your arms and legs. Noticing if it changes size and shape as you breathe and as you change. Really tuning into whatever kind of golden egg is just the most aligned golden egg for you right now to be in. And feeling yourself so secure and so safe and so sovereign inside of it. And then from this place, inviting in any well-bright ancestors, any beloved transcestors or blessed transcendents, calling in any earth allies, any guiding spirits, calling in any benevolent energies, any deities or deities, and feeling them arrive, feeling them uplift you and support you and offer you so much love. Feeling them offer you so much encouragement. Feeling them present, feeling them with you in a way that feels really safe, really boundaried, really supportive. And then if it feels good in your mind's eye, beginning to notice that you're in a circle of golden eggs. You're in a circle of wonderful, incredible human beings who are here tonight or through time and space joining us with this intention to celebrate life and celebrate lessons learned through experience. And then any other intentions that you hold near and dear to your heart, just putting them into the inner circle, which is in the middle of all of these golden eggs. Feeling those intentions so supported, so honored, so uplifted by our circle of eggs and by all the beings that are here and present with us tonight. After you do that, I invite you to breathe in some celebratory energy. Maybe there's something you're celebrating. Maybe there's something you're going through that is worth celebrating, and you want to take just a moment to notice it for yourself and celebrate it. I'm celebrating all of you being here tonight, and I'm celebrating us being alive on this planet at this very moment, getting to be in connection, getting to be with each other in community and in spaces. Taking a few breaths here, and then inviting your whole body to rest. Maybe you want to drop your shoulders or relax your jaw or your eyes. Maybe you want to shake your hips so that they release and relax. Whatever feels good for you. Inviting your body to do what it wants to do right now, to allow itself to relax a little bit. And then taking your time to come back to this space, gently returning to your body in this present moment, gently returning to this present reality, and gently returning to the screen whenever you're ready. Maybe taking some nice deep breaths as you do so. Beautiful. Welcome back. Thank you all for joining in that journey with me and being in this circle with me. I'm going to share my screen. Okay, like I said, I'm going to be sharing 11 lessons tonight. You're welcome to use the chat. I sometimes struggle with multitasking, so if I don't see it right away, I'll definitely see it at the end. And then I'm going to go through the lessons. We're going to do a little activity, and then I'll close this out with another mini meditation, and then there will be time to share and talk, and I'll turn the recording off and we can just hang out for a little bit, which will be lovely. So yeah, welcome to my birthday extravaganza day 2 of 4. I'm so glad you're all here. Let's see, how do I change the slide? There we go. Okay, so 33 years on this planet. I don't know if y'all know, but today is Trans Day of Visibility. And yeah, it feels really good as a trans person to be visible. I've definitely been very visible for about the last 2 years, and it feels really good to be alive and really good to have survived to this point. So I'm definitely celebrating through 33 years on this planet. There were times when I didn't know if I'd make it to 33, so it feels really freaking awesome to be here and to have such an incredible, beautiful life that I get to live every day. So yeah, these are some pictures of me through the years. You can see me as a brand new little being, a brand new little alien, just stretching my arms for the first time. I was born on Easter Sunday at about 9 in the morning. So the doctor supposedly was at Easter Mass, and I was delivered by my dad and the nurse named Marianne. It's partially named after the nurse, and then partially named for my grandfather, who always wanted a child named Marianne. And then that same evening, he passed away in his sleep after he found out I was born. And then we live a few hours away from where my grandparents live. And so he sent flowers and chocolates to my mom for Easter and for my birth. And she actually got them on the day of his funeral. So it feels like a really special story of my birth. And I really love thinking about it and remembering it. I mean, I don't remember it, but being told about it, I feel like I have osmosis memories from my parents and other people telling me about it. And then there I am on Christmas, on my first Christmas, in this chair that I got that I was so happy for. And there I am on my first time seeing the ocean, which was like amazing. Growing up in Missouri and getting to go to Florida when I was like 7 or 8 and seeing the ocean for the first time was like a huge revelation. It blew my mind. And I've definitely loved the ocean ever since. And then the next picture is me feeding a lamb at a farm in Iceland called Ozbaki. I went to Iceland when I was 19 without telling my parents. Is the time when cell phones everyone didn't have a cell phone. So I just told them it was broken and I just went to Iceland. I ended up working on a farm for 6 months and being there for lambing season, which was absolutely amazing. I got to help deliver over 300 lambs. And then we always bottle feed the home lambs. So the lambs that are rejected by their mothers or whose mothers pass away, we get to feed them and keep them all summer. And it feels really special. So that was one of our home lambs that I love to feed. And they get so big so quickly. And then there I am on my birthday on Saturday with this giant stick that I found with my niece Harper Rose, and she took that picture of me, and then I took some of her with the stick, and we were just having a grand old time. So yeah, 33 years on this planet, there's been a lot of really amazing moments for sure, and wanting to capture them and remember them and celebrate and appreciate them. So the first lesson tonight is pleasure first. This is something that I learned from Mama Gina, and I hear a lot of folks who study with Jaya say, and I absolutely love it. Like prioritizing pleasure and play is so important. We don't want to wait until we think we've earned it. It's not something you need to earn. It's just like your birthright. You get to have pleasure, you get to have play, you get to have joy. And yeah, let it be your fuel. Let it be something that nourishes you and replenishes you and helps you get excited for the things you have to do instead of your reward. I think whenever I'm struggling and I think pleasure first, that just like changes everything for me. And I'm like, oh, yeah, yeah, cool. If I just even do like a 3-minute dance party or go for a 10-minute walk and look at the sky and enjoy some pleasure and enjoy being alive and being a human in a body, suddenly I am like a lot more interested in the slightly boring or unsavory parts of life. Like they don't feel so bad. And not that we want to do pleasure or play in order to do the other things, but just letting that be like the top of our list, letting that be our priority can be a really special change of events. And then the next thing I wanted to talk about because of priorities, priorities is something I've always struggled with as someone with like some some neurodivergence. Priorities always felt really hard. My sister, who's a Virgo, used to ask me like, what are your priorities? And I would list everything that I cared about, and she'd be like, no, like what is the main things you care about? And then when I started seeing priorities as additive instead of subtractive or limiting, it started making a lot more sense. So like, okay, I have 10 things that I really care about. What are the things I most want to put my energy and focus into right now? And that felt like sort of life-changing and felt really amazing to think of priorities as additive and not subtractive or limiting. And then I've included this amazing picture of my cake from Saturday. Talk about additive. My nieces and I decorated this cake with pretty much everything that my sister got for us to decorate the cake with. We used like 50 sugar eyeballs and like so much frosting, and it felt really fun to just like add so much to the cake. And it was a really sweet moment because me and my nieces had made lists of things we wanted to do. And I kept asking them throughout the week, like, what is the priority today? What is the thing we absolutely want to do the most? And it was really fun to hear their answers and then to do those things and like celebrate us doing those things and feel the abundance of doing those things instead of feeling like, oh, we only have a few days to hang out and this is scarcity. I keep asking myself, like, when am I taking abundance and turning it into scarcity? And how can I take feelings of scarcity and transform them into abundance? And I definitely feel like priorities are one of the ways to do that. Celebrating the things that we most want to do and making sure that we do them. My favorite thing, boundaries. Up until a few years ago, I was totally that person who was like, I don't have boundaries. What are boundaries? I want to do everything. I want to be everything. I don't want to limit myself. And again, same thing with the priorities, like seeing boundaries as an expansive practice, as a way to protect and create more space. Has been really powerful. And boundaries with myself has been one of the things that I've needed a lot in the last few years and have been really changing, like life changing for me, like having boundaries around what I do and around my routines and around the way I talk to myself and around the way that I, handle like what and who I'm engaging with. It's been really, really powerful. It's a way for me to be more aligned with my desires, with my capacity, with my values, which feels really powerful. It feels like a practice of deep alignment. And boundaries are always changing. Like, I think that's one thing that felt really hard for me at first with boundaries was like, okay, I just want to set these boundaries, set it and forget it, let it be this like solid thing. And it's not. Like, I've heard a lot of people talk about boundaries are a see-through fence, not a wall. and boundaries move and change and they shift. And a lot of times we don't learn our boundaries until they've been pushed or they've been touched or they've been transgressed. And then we get to learn them. And so that's one of the things that I really love doing, like whenever I feel anger or resentment, is just sort of being like, okay, I think we found a boundary. What is the boundary here? What is the way to move forward with this? And so that feels like a really good thing to be practicing that I definitely didn't practice in my 20s. And it's made a huge difference for me in the way that I communicate with others, in the way that I take care of myself and others, in the way that I take care of relationships. It's definitely been a way for me to move out of codependent tendencies and more into interdependence, like knowing that I am a separate being and I get to have edges and I get to have boundaries and they get to be respected and honored. And that's how I know when relationships are healthy, is when we're able to honor each other's boundaries. And if they are transgressed, we're able to repair and heal and move forward with that. That feels like a really powerful way to know what relationships are, growing and healthy and strong. And then I love this one. This one is watch what you say, especially to yourself. One thing that I really made a habit of in the last few years is correcting myself as I'm speaking. If I say something that I didn't really mean, or if I say something that felt like, I wasn't using the exact words I want to use. And not that we need to be perfectionists about it, but I do think like watching the way we speak is so important. Like that can be one of the ways that we show care, especially to ourselves and others. And one thing I've done a lot of is redefining words and making sure that the words I'm using are really aligned to the best they can be with my meaning. And one of the reasons I picked this picture, this is a picture I took in a valley in Iceland a few years ago, in this beautiful valley as you drive into this little town called Seyðisfjörður. And that town is like a very artsy, beautiful town, and it's often raining. I don't know if you can see, but there's like a little rainbow in the picture. And as you drive into that town, like you come over this mountain and drive into the fjord, and you often see a rainbow. And I love it so much. And I think one of the things when we talk to ourselves, we can really decide what to focus on. And we can focus on the rain or the rainbows. And I love driving into Seyðisfjörður, and I love like it's always a little rainy, which is kind of a bummer, but there is always a rainbow, which feels really good. So focusing on that and letting those words like lead you into the place that you want to be in emotionally and mentally can be really powerful. And that leads me to another fun one, which is affirm yourself. Affirm yourself often, affirm yourself in ways that feel really exciting. Make sure the words you're using are resonating and believable. I think affirmations felt a little silly for me until I realized that they needed to be believable. And that was like this big opening portal of magic for me. Someone taught me this fabulous phrase. I can't remember who, but it was like, to use the affirmation like I am willing to believe or I am willing to consider. So if you're not, if you're not feeling the thing that you want to be feeling yet, you could say I'm willing to believe or I'm willing to consider that it's possible to feel this way. And that's felt really amazing for me. Like that feels like this beautiful portal of magic just like opening up and expanding before me. I love to affirm myself. I love to write affirmations down. I love to hang them on the mirror. I love to collage with them. I love to ask other people their favorite affirmations. I love to, when I hear myself say something that feels like a limiting belief, I love to turn it around and just play with the words until I find something that feels like really resonant and really powerful to say instead. Which also goes back to that, like, watch the way you talk to yourself, watch the way you speak. I think that a lot of the words that we say are spells for the future, and we just want to be like, we want to be making spells that are incredible, especially in the world that we live in today. We want to be future dreaming. We want to be stepping into that. And one way we can do that is the language that we use. Another thing that I learned from Mel Robbins, from Mel Robbins wrote a whole book about it, is high-fiving yourself. So I love to high-five myself and say one of my affirmations and just give myself that little boost. Can feel really, really good. I love to write my affirmations like multiple times in my journal, in my morning pages. And something I learned about brain plasticity is that there's this thing, neurobics. And when we do a task we've done many times, but with our alternate hand, so if you brush your teeth with your non-dominant hand, or if you write with your non-dominant hand, it actually like makes your brain pay attention way more. So one thing I love to do is write my affirmations with my non-dominant hand. That's also a really fun activity to like, like let yourself be so imperfect and have the goal be just to do the thing. So writing with my left hand can be really uncomfortable, and I don't like that handwriting, but it's like a practice that I do. And if I can even just write an affirmation 5 times with my left hand, I'm like, yes, I did this, and I celebrate the fuck out of it. And I know that my brain was paying even more attention because I was doing something with a non-dominant hand, which feels really exciting and fun to do. It's a great practice. And then I love to say it till you feel it. If you have an affirmation or if there's a new belief happening, supposedly you need to say things or think them over 200 times before that pathway in your brain is like formed. And then it becomes more of a default thought. And so I just like a lot of times we're going to say an affirmation, or we're going to have a new belief or try to have a new belief, and it's not going to feel as normal or as usual as that default. So to replace the default, we just have to say it and say it and say it and say it. And it's great to be witnessed, and it's great to share it. And the more that you can say it, I think the better. So yeah, say it till you feel it. I also feel that way with spells and with rituals. Like there is a moment when things start to resonate, and finding that resonance can be really powerful, and letting yourself have that time to repeat and work through it until you find the resonance is also really powerful. Ah, yes, consent is magic. I've done so much work on consent in the last 5 years, starting with training as a dominatrix and finding the kink community. That's when my consent journey really started. And then in the last few years, I've taken a lot of classes from Mia Schachter and just learned so much about consent, about the wheel of consent, which is a framework that Betty Martin invented. And also, one thing that has really shocked me is like how much I haven't been in consent with myself, and how much I violated my own consent. And that goes back to those boundaries. So often I'm the person who violates my own consent, or has these moments of like pushing myself out of my own comfort zone in a way that's not very safe and not very good. So just like allowing myself to come back into consent with myself. And especially as someone with codependent tendencies or who tends to be a people pleaser, like consent is truly a magical thing. Knowing who something is for and why we're doing it, and making sure we're communicating that clearly is really, really important. And if you want to know more about consent, I really recommend Mia Schachter's work. Mia has this great yes to no spectrum, which shows like where things go from uncomfortable to unsafe, which feels like a really powerful lesson when we think about consent, especially consent with ourselves. So yeah, the more that I practice, I would call it like advanced consent, because I know a lot of times when we talk about consent, we have this like enthusiastic yes conversation, which doesn't always feel like the whole story to me. It feels like consent is much more nuanced than that. And consent is this space where we play in and where we learn in. And it doesn't feel like a very clear yes or no. That's going to be a lesson in a moment. But I'm always, whenever I hear a binary, I always am like, oh, I gotta like, let me be a little bit more careful about this binary. Yeah, their name is Mia Schachter. I can put that in the chat in a moment. And their Instagram is Consent Wizardry. Consent Wizardry. They have a lot of incredible classes I highly recommend. And one of the things I love about their work is they really include sex workers and like things that we learn from sex work in their work, which I really, really appreciate. I've seen consent that's like very focused on sex, which that's great. And I've seen consent that ignores sex. And I think it's really nice to have consent that's like a balance and talks about how consent is really important within sexuality and also within every part of our life. And I love including sex workers as some of the folks who are working in the forefront of consent work, because that's, like I said, that's something I learned when I first started doing dominatrix work. Is like consent was a really important conversation. And so it feels really good to be engaging with someone whose work includes that knowledge in those folks. And then, like I said, beyond binaries is liberation. We are raised in so many binaries. We want things to be black and white. We want them to be clear. We want them to be concise. Nuance is our friend. Nuance is important. Nuance is something that I always want to embrace. And I feel like every time that I let myself even like tiptoe out of a binary, I find so much liberation. I find so much flexibility. I find so much fluidity. So some binaries that we're really like raised in are the gender binary, black and white. We're raised in this binary of yes and no, of rich and poor, of like when I think about relationships, it's like people are like either friends or lovers. Like there's a lot of binaries that we're raised in. And the more that we can step out of them, and it is a lot of work and it can be scary to start stepping out of binaries, but the more we can step out of them and play with them and liberate ourselves from them, the more freedom we can have. It's like a super powerful act of self-liberation. And while it's been difficult, I've always benefited from doing it. It's always been something that's just like given me so much in return. And the biggest one for me has been stepping outside of the gender binary. That was just like a revelation and a very powerful act for me. I'm still learning how to do that. I'm still practicing that every day. And as I look at that binary, I see so many other binaries and I'm like, oh my God, what are we doing? Things are not always like A or B. There's like a million, my friend always says, like there's a million points between A and B that we want to talk about, that we want to be in, that we could stand in, that we could explore, that we could look at. So yeah, definitely seeing yourself step outside of the binary. It's a very powerful act. Ah, yes, learning the difference between feeling unsafe and being unsafe. This is a really, really important thing. This is something Mia talks about when they talk about consent. And it's like there are times when we're going to feel unsafe. And how do we hold ourselves and how do we talk ourselves through that? My therapist is often reminding me like our job sometimes in growth and in healing is to tolerate discomfort. It is to sit in the discomfort of the unknown, which is really, really hard. And it's also a place of powerful healing and powerful growth and powerful expansion. So learning the difference between feeling unsafe and being unsafe is so, so, so important. And it's going to be different for everybody. That's going to be a really nuanced experience and a really nuanced practice, something I've been working on a lot. And this picture, which I love, is me inside of a giant balloon in front of 500 people at a fundraiser called Kink Out. This was a few years ago, pre-pandemic, and definitely the first time that my friend, mistress couple offered me the chance to go inside of a balloon. I was terrified, but I really, really wanted to. And one of the things that I love about erotic energy and creative energy is it's this very incredible energy that like fuels us to try new things and to do things that we normally might not try. And so the first time that happened, I was terrified, but I also really wanted it. And so my desire outweighed my fear, which is always like feels really good. And so yeah, I got inside of this balloon and then Mistress Couple, she like encouraged me to blow up some balloons. And then we had this whole scene at a private party. And then a few months later, we did it in front of 500 people. And definitely doing it in front of 500 people was terrifying. And there was a moment when it wasn't really working. Like I was getting inside the balloon, it was deflating and we couldn't quite make it work. And then Mistress Couple looked at me and was like, look in my eyes, like, let's work through the fear. Let's just focus on the desire and the play, and it's just me and you. And then it worked and it was incredible. So definitely like noticing when we're feeling unsafe but we're not actually unsafe, and reminding ourselves of that and letting ourselves feel safe and explore what safety can feel like in our own bodies is a really powerful practice. Another picture of me after I came out of the balloon. So she had me blow up these little balloons and then she at the end like pulled my head out of the balloon and then she stepped on me and popped those little balloons against my body, which is one of my favorite things, and it's really magical. So that's me on the floor. I'm pretty sure her boot is on me and that's what I'm looking at with such glee and excitement. And something that Mistress Couple taught me when she was training me to be a dominatrix was no unnecessary suffering. It's completely okay if you want to suffer, and it's consensual suffering, and it is suffering that you are aware of and you are accepting. But if there's suffering that you're creating for yourself, stop. Like, you don't need to do it. If you want to suffer consensually and with awareness, by all means, please do. There's so many fun, creative, exciting, kinky ways to suffer, but don't create problems for yourself when you don't need them. Don't create suffering when you don't need them. And one of her examples, which I love so much, is like, if you're getting whipped, but your knee hurts, like, let's make your knee not hurt so that you can really enjoy the suffering of the whipping. And that always made me feel really happy. And I love thinking about that, especially in healing spaces and in spaces of spirituality, spirituality and practices, is like, we don't need to suffer unnecessarily. Like, if it's going to throw you out of regulation to go into your deepest, darkest wound, like, let's not go there yet. Like, let's take our time, let's titrate, let's go step by step. And that's something that I love to do in my own healing and with clients, because I think that's just so important. Like, let's make sure we're regulated. Let's make sure this is consensual. Let's make sure we're not just creating unnecessary suffering for ourselves. And then the last one for tonight is know your superpowers. I love this exercise. I've done this a few times in a few different spaces, and it's really fun to like own what you're good at. And I had a friend, Hillary Hayes, tell me about holistic humility. And holistic humility, in her definition, is it includes like the things you're really good at and that you know you're really good at, and then the things that you have blind spots about or you're not so good at or you're learning. And so it's this like holistic view of like all your gifts and all the things that you're working on or don't yet know. And I really love that. And when I thought about that, I was like, oh, right, like holistic humility includes pride. And when we have pride, I think of pride as like a very rooted thing, and arrogance is not rooted. And so when we have pride, like, there's a reason we have pride. We've practiced something, or we've worked on something, or we know we're really good at something. And something that Mia Schachter also talks about, which I really appreciate, is like knowing your impact and knowing your power is really important. It's also how you can be more in consent with others and like move through the world more consensually. If I'm pretending I don't have any power and I'm not good at anything, I'm not really being honest with myself. I'm not really aligned with myself. And then I'm not really noticing when I hold power in an inherent power dynamic, which is really important to do. So yeah, we're actually going to do a little work, a little activity for like 4 minutes. I would love for you to think about what your superpowers are. You can write them down. You can do a voice note. You can just think of them. We're going to take about 4 minutes to do this. And then if anybody wants to share in the chat, that would be absolutely lovely, although no pressure. And then I'm happy to share with you some of my superpowers because I love this exercise. The first time I did this, I was like, oh my God, yes, I am good at things. This is awesome. So we're just going to take a minute to do that. So feel free to share if you want. And then I wanted to share some of mine because this exercise makes me so happy and feels so fun to think about it this way. Some of my superpowers are wild creativity, having a hawk's eye view. I feel like I can hold a wider perspective in a way that feels like a superpower. Translating and bridging, really good at finding common ground. One of my superpowers is definitely communicating in metaphors and symbols. If you know me, you know that's how I talk a lot, but also my Mercury's in Pisces, so that makes it easy. Definitely a superpower, the way that I can reframe and find access points, making and creating connections, holding space, hope, and multiple truths at once. Another one of my superpowers is galvanizing. I love to bring in like a bright solar energy that excites that excites action, and persuading people and kind of getting people excited for action and enthusiastic to take action. One of my superpowers is telling hard truths tenderly, not always, but often, experimenting and practicing. Definitely one of my superpowers is enthusiasm, dreaming of future possibilities, celebrating, and voicing from a place of integrity. That's something I've worked on that's more of a learned superpower, but I definitely pride myself on that one. If there's anything anyone wants to share, I'd love to see it in the chat, but again, no pressure. And I'm going to be doing 11 more lessons tomorrow at 3 p.m. EST. I'd love if you wanted to join. That would be absolutely lovely. I'm going to close this out with meditation, and then I'm going to turn off the recording. We can all chat and hang out. I'm excited to share with you ways that you can be in my magic, ways that you can engage with my work. You can follow me on Instagram if you don't already. I have a personal account and I have a business account. I definitely right now I'm putting more things on the personal account, still finding the balance. I have free meditations on my website. I will definitely give you the link to that. Or if you want, you can check it out. It's in the corner of this slide. I also have pay what you wish circles. Sometimes those are art making circles. Sometimes they're breathwork circles. Sometimes we're making affirmations. I just sort of do whatever I want, whenever I want. So definitely keep an eye out for those. They can be really fun and magical. And then I have monthly replenish circles. Something I'm really, really passionate about, something that I feel really dedicated to is trans wealth and trans abundance. As a trans non-binary person who's lived in scarcity for so much of my life, it's something that I feel is a community issue, and I want to address it in community. And it feels really, really special to get together with other trans and non-binary beings and talk about it and let our gender and our gender expression and identity be part of that conversation. Those circles aren't just about being trans and non-binary, but it's a place where that material is really welcome and celebrated, and it can be a part of it. The way that the story I love to tell about the time, the very first one, which was I think 8 or 9 months ago at this point, we were talking about what would feel really good to have in abundance. And someone said they would love to have a budget for gender affirming clothing. And like everyone was just like, felt them, and that was resonating so deeply. And that felt really special because up until that point, I had been in spaces where we talked about scarcity and abundance, but my gender identity didn't feel very welcome. It didn't feel very held or very honored. And so I wanted to create a space where it was. So those meet monthly and they're very, very special. It's a very magical place. And then the thing I'm really excited to tell you about tonight is that I also offer one-on-one coaching, and I am launching a year-long magical mentorship, which I'm super excited about. It feels big, it feels powerful, it feels potent, and I don't have many spots available. So if you're interested, definitely let me know. I think it's going to be really, really magical. And more information on that, it is a year-long, 3 sessions a month. There's a bunch of yummy, fun, delicious, tantalizing bonuses. So if you want to know more, let me know. I'm also offering mini mentorship calls for the next few weeks. So if you want to have a free 75-minute call where the first hour we're doing coaching and mentorship call, and then the next 15 minutes we're talking about strategy, definitely book one. It's going to be incredible. The link is right there. I'll also drop it in the chat. The year-long magical mentorship is going to be $33,000 for the whole year. Payment plans are available. And if you want to have my magic and have my guidance and my coaching for the year, let me know. It's going to be really, really special. So yeah, that's all I have for you tonight. Thank you so much for coming. I'm going to stop sharing the screen, and I'm going to just do a little guided meditation to drop us out. And then there will be time to chat and hang out if you want to, if you can, if you have time and space. I would love that. So yeah, thank you again. I'm just going to take us back into a little grounding meditation. Close the circle. Whatever feels good is a way to come back to your body and come back to yourself in this moment. If you want to close your eyes, if you just want to soften your gaze or relax your shoulders, I'm feeling a lot of desire to stretch. So definitely stretch, shake, whatever feels good for you. Taking some nice deep breaths. After our little activity about superpowers, I'm just feeling like we're in this circle of superheroes. So feeling ourselves to be these really powerful, incredible, eclectic beings, feeling ourselves with so much agency, with so much power, individually and as a collective. Returning to that golden egg, returning to that place of sovereignty and safety. Returning to the breath, inviting the spirit back into relationship with the body through the breath. Noticing any intentions you had for tonight, or even anything that you were wanting to release, and just checking in with that. Did your intentions blossom? Were you able to let go of the things you wanted to release? And maybe even noticing if there's any new intentions or any other things that want to be released bubbling up, and just honoring them, letting you know that you see them. Breathing in anything that you want to take with you from this circle tonight. Any realization, any feeling, any desire, any reflections. And then breathing out anything you don't want to take with you, anything you want to release or let go or let dissolve or compost back into the cosmos. Just breathing that out, letting it go. And then offering yourself so much gratitude for being a human on this planet right now. So much gratitude for the ways that you show up for yourself and for others. So much gratitude for you exactly how you are in this moment. And then offering gratitude and love to any well-bright ancestors, any beloved transcestors, any blessed transcendents, any guiding spirits or benevolent energies that showed up for us tonight. Letting them know that we appreciate them, that we love them, and we feel their support. And if it feels good to let them know that they can go if they must and stay if they will, that our circle is closing, letting them know that. And then offering some gratitude and love and energy to everyone in the circle tonight. Feeling how good it feels to gather with other humans, to be in community and circles and spaces of togetherness. And then letting the circle of eggs, of these beautiful cosmic golden eggs, just letting it dissipate, letting it dissolve and recycle and compost. Feeling ourselves begin to separate and go our own ways in this mood, in this energy of celebration. And carrying with us whatever we decided to take from tonight, feeling ourselves so nourished and so supported by that. And then whenever you're ready, coming back to your body in the present moment, maybe letting yourself yawn or stretch or shake. Very gently returning to awareness and returning to the screen. Thank you all so much for being here.